Hello everyone. Welcome to our second episode of Type Composition. And in this episode, we will be learning about some further topic. Our expert is Mr. Ashish Garg and I am Shelly Seni. Today's topic are Mono, Ludlow and Photo DTP. In first episode of Type Composition, we discussed about lino, manual and mechanical type compositions. We also talked about the invention of typography and also discussed about the invention and history of manual, mechanical and linotype compositions. It's true that text or type we are using these days has a great history and theory behind, and we have learned it in our previous episode. This episode is also interesting and has lots of knowledgeable facts about the related topics of type compositions. Let's discuss about the next typograph, monotype. Monotype is a type composition technique of printmaking made by drawing or painting on a smooth, non-absorbent surface. The surface was historically a copper etching plate, but in contemporary work, it can vary from zinc or glass to any type of acrylic glass. The image is then transferred onto a sheet of paper by pressing the two together, usually using a printing press. Monotypes can also be created by inking an entire surface and then using brushes or rags, removing ink to create a subtractive image. Example, creating lights from a field of opaque color. The inks used may be oil-based or water-based. With oil-based inks, the paper may be dry, in which case the image has more contrast, or the paper may be damp, in which case the image has a 10% greater range of tones. History of monotype. The monotype process was invented by Giovanni Benedetto Castiglione, 1609 to 1664, an Italian painter and etcher who was also the first artist to produce brushed sketches intended as finished and final works of art, rather than as studies for another work. He is the only Italian to have invented a printmaking technique. He began to make monotypes in 1640s. Normally working from black to white, and produced over 20 surviving ones, over half of which are set at night. These are Finding the Arms of His Father, 1643. Another artist, William Blake, developed a different technique, painting on millboard in egg tempera to produce both new works and colored impressions of his prints and book illustrations. Few other artists used the technique until Degas, who made several, often working on them after painting. Beside the Sea, 1876 to 77, Pissarro also made several. Paul Gauguin used a variant technique involving tracing, later taken up by Paul Klee. In the 20th century, the technique became more popular. Monoprinting. Monoprinting is a form of printmaking that has images or lines that can only be made once. Unlike most printmaking, where there are multiple originals, there are many techniques of monoprinting. Examples of standard printmaking techniques which can be used to make monoprints include lithography, woodcut, and etching. Types of monoprints. A monoprint is a single impression of an image made from a reprintable block, such as a metal plate used for etching, a lithostone or wood block. Rather than printing an edition of multiple copies of a single image, only one impression may be produced, either by painting or making a collage of the block. Etching plates may also be inked in a way that is expressive and unique in the strict sense, in that the image cannot be reproduced exactly. Monoprints may also involve elements that change, where the artist reworks the image in between impressions or after printing so that no two prints are absolutely identical. Monoprints may include collage, hand-painted additions, and a form of tracing by which thick ink is laid down on a table, paper is placed on top and is then drawn on, transferring the ink onto the paper. Monoprints can also be made by altering the type, color, and pressure of the ink used to create different prints. Monoprints are known as the most paternly method among the printmaking techniques. It is essentially a printed painting. The characteristic of this method is that no two prints are alike. The beauty of this medium is also in its spontaneity and its combination of printmaking, painting, and drawing media. Technique and comparing monotypes to monoprints. Monoprinting and monotyping are very similar. The difference between monoprinting and monotype printing is that monoprinting has a matrix that can be reused but not to produce an identical result. With monotyping, there are no permanent marks on the matrix, and at most, 2 impressions can be obtained. Both involve the transfer of ink from a plate to the paper, canvas, or other surfaces that will ultimately hold the work of art. In case of monotyping, the plate is a featureless plate. It contains no features that will impart any definition to successive prints. The most common feature would be the etched or engraved line on a metal plate. In the absence of any permanent features on the surface of plate, all articulation of imagery is dependent on one unique inking, resulting in one unique print. Monoprints, on the other hand, are the result of plates that have permanent features on them. Monoprints can be thought of as variation on a theme, with the theme resulting from some permanent features being found on the plate, lines, textures that persists from print to print. Variations are confined to those resulting from how the plate is inked prior to each print. The variations are endless, but certain permanent features on the plate will tend to persist from one print to the next. Monoprinting has been used by many artists, among them George Baselitz, Tracy Emin, some old master prints like etchings by Rembrandt with individual manipulation of ink as surface tone, or hand-painted etchings by Degas, usually called monotypes, might be classified as monoprints, but they are rarely so described. Ludlow Typograph. Hot metal typesetting system used in letterpress printing is called Ludlow Typograph. The device casts bar out of type metal primarily consisting of lead. These slugs are used for the actual printing and then are melted down and recycled on the spot. The Ludlow system uses molds known as matrices or mats, which are hand set into a special composing stick. Thus, the composing process resembles that used in cold lead type printing. Once a line has been completed, the composing stick is inserted into the Ludlow machine, which clamps it firmly in place above the mold. Hot lead is then injected through the mold into the matrices, allowed to cool, and then the bottom of the slug is trimmed just before it is ejected. The operator then replaces the matrices or mats back into the type cases by hand. Since the mats are of consistent height, irrespective of typeface, size, they are easier to handle than lead type. The primary functional difference between Ludlow Typograph and a linotype is that the latter uses a keyboard to compose each line of type, whereas Ludlow uses handset mats, and that an ordinary linotype was limited to faces smaller than 24 point, whereas Ludlow made whole alphabets up to 96 point and figures as large as 240 point. The machine is much simpler and takes up less floor space, and the initial investment in machine and mats is more affordable for a small print shop than a linotype, primarily used by large printers and formerly in newspapers. Neither the Lodlow Typograph nor the Linotype is currently made. However, both machines can still be serviced and parts and mats are readily available. The true worth of the Ludlow lies in the fact that the printer always has fresh, clean type to print from and never has to worry about running out of sorts. The Ludlow is used primarily for headline size type 14 point and above. All the mats were formerly made in many typefaces as small as 6 points. The mats themselves were made out of brass alloy. One thing an operator has to make sure of is that the line is solidly locked down with no gaps between the mats and the composing stick in its proper place. Because of the pressure at which the type metal is forced into the mold cavity, any gaps in the line will lead to a squirt of hot metal. DTP, Desktop Publishing. DTP denotes Desktop Publishing, which combines a personal computer and WYSIWYG page layout software to create publication documents on a computer for either large-scale publishing or small-scale local multifunctional peripheral output and distribution. The term desktop publishing is commonly used to describe page layout skills. However, the skills and software are not limited to paper and book publishing. The same skills and software are often used to create graphics for point-of-sale displays, promotional items, trade shows exhibits, retail package designs, and outdoor signs. Desktop publishing system allows you to use different typefaces, specify various margins and justifications, and embed illustrations and graphs directly into the text. The most powerful desktop publishing system enable you to create illustrations, while less powerful system let you insert illustrations created by other programs.
As we have discussed about the typography in this episode, I would like to mention some other things related to illustrations and typography. Illustration is a work created to showcase some essential information related to poems, stories, and news. Illustrations are commonly seen on comic books, newspapers, magazine, print ads, and so many other places. Illustration can be done easily by hand, and also it can be achieved by softwares easily like Adobe Illustrator and CorelDRAW. Through this software, you can easily achieve the best work of typography and illustrations. After getting trained in typography, one can join any ad agency, newspaper, print magazine, and other illustration related companies. Artists can develop their own font by their creativity and skills. This typography field is so much creative and that too innovative that one can easily create new kinds of fonts by their names. Nowadays, softwares are becoming more popular towards students to achieve this best and great quality of typography, and that is why students are bending towards designing schools.
Once you have produced a document with a desktop publishing system, you can output it directly to a printer, or you can produce a PostScript file which you can then take to the Service Bureau. The Service Bureau has special machines that convert the PostScript file to film, which can then be used to make plates for offset printing. Offset printing produces higher quality documents, especially if color is used, but is generally more expensive than laser printing. History of DTP. Desktop publishing began in 1985 with the introduction of Mac Publisher, the first WYSIWYG layout program, which ran on the original 128K Macintosh computer. Desktop typesetting, with only limited pagemaker facilities, had arrived in 1978-79 with the introduction of TeX and was extended in the early 1980s by LaTeX. The DTP market exploded in 1985 with the introduction of January in Apple LaserWriter printer, and later in July with the introduction of PageMaker software from Aldus, which rapidly became the DTP industry standard software. The ability to create WYSI/WYG page layouts on screen and then print pages at crisp 300 dpi resolution was revolutionary for both the typesetting industry and the personal computer industry. Newspapers and other print publications made the move to DTP-based programs from older layout systems like ATEX and other such programs in the early 1980s. The term desktop publishing is attributed to Aldus Corporation founder Paul Brainerd, who sought a marketing catchphrase to describe the small size and relative affordability of this suite of products in contrast to the expensive commercial photo typesetting equipment of the day. The standard we are seeing today, early desktop publishing was a primitive affair. Users of the PageMaker LaserWriter Macintosh 512K system endured frequent software crashes. The Mac's teeny 512 by 342 1-bit black and white screen, the inability to control letter spacing, kerning, the addition or removal of space between individual characters in a piece of typeset text to improve its appearance or alter its fit, and other typographic features and discrepancies between the screen display and the printed output. However, it was a revolutionary combination at the time and was received with considerable acclaim. Behind-the-scenes technologies developed by Adobe Systems set the foundation for professional desktop publishing applications. The LaserWriter and LaserWriter Plus printers included high-quality, scalable Adobe PostScript fonts built into their ROM memory. The LaserWriter's PostScript capability allowed publication designers to proof files on a local printer, then print the same file at DTP services bureaus using optical resolution 600 plus ppi. PostScript printers such as those from Linotronic and then later on the Macintosh 2 was released, which was much more suitable for desktop publishing. Because of its larger color screen, support for multiple displays, greater RAM capacity, and its SCSI storage interface, which allowed fast, high-capacity hard drives to be attached to the system. Although Macintosh-based system would continue to dominate the market in 1986, the GEM-based Ventura Publishers was introduced for MS-DOS computers. While PageMaker's pasteboard metaphor closely simulated the process of creating layouts manually, Ventura Publishers automated the layout process through its use of tags or style sheets and automatically generated indices and other body matter. This made it suitable for manuals and other long-format documents. Desktop publishing moved into the home market in 1986, with Professional Page for the Amiga publishing partner, now PageStream for the Atari ST GST's TimeWorks publishers on the PC, and Atari ST Calamus for the Atari TT030, and even Home Publisher, Newsroom and GEO Publish for 8-bit computers like the Apple II and Commodore 64. During these early years, desktop publishing acquired a bad reputation from untrained users who created poorly organized ransom note effects layouts. Criticism that would be levied again against early web publishers a decade later. However, some were able to realize truly professional results. For example, Info Magazine became the very first desktop-published full-color newsstand magazine in the last quarter of 1986. Using a combination of Commodore Amiga computers, Professional Page desktop publishing software, and an Agfa graphic typesetter. Often considered a primary skill, increased accessibility to more user-friendly DTP software has made DTP a secondary skill to art direction, graphic design, multimedia development, marketing communications, administrative careers, and advanced high school literacy in thriving economies. DTP skill levels range from what may be learned in a few hours, example, learning how to put clip art in a word processor, to what requires a college education and years of experience. Example, advertising agency positions. The discipline of DTP skills range from technical skills such as pre-press production and programming to creative skills such as communication design and graphic image development. Desktop publishing software companies. The main player in the field are Adobe, Corel, Quark and Serif, with products that stick close to the original use of desktop publishing software for professional page layout. Additionally, Microsoft, Nova Development and others have been producing consumers or print creativity and business desktop publishing software for many years. Adobe makes many software packages used by designers. You have probably heard of Photoshop, for example, but these other programs are not page layout software applications for print publishing. They are graphic software, web design software, programs for creating and working with the PDF format such as Adobe Acrobat and other related software tools. The primary desktop publishing software or page layout software applications are Adobe FrameMaker, Adobe InDesign, Adobe PageMaker. Corel is best known for its graphics suite that include Corel Draw and Corel Photo Paint. In the past, it had produced creative printing or home publishing programs used for desktop publishing too, but the primary page layout software from Corel is Corel Ventura. Microsoft produces Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint and various consumer graphics and creative printing programs used alone or in conjunction with other applications to do some form of desktop publishing. Their entry into page layout for print is Microsoft Office Publisher. Quark has other software, but the one most closely associated with desktop publishing is Quark Express and its many extensions produced by many third-party vendors that enhance and expand the basic capabilities of Quark Express. Serif produces a suite of applications for graphics and web design, but the core desktop publishing software application is Serif Page Plus. Also, a few of the other desktop publishing software packages that qualify as page layout applications or software suites that have a page layout component are Deniba Canvas, Divan Ready, Set, Go, Ragtime. SOHO desktop publishing software and home publishing include any number of constantly updated and changing titles. The products frequently change hands as well as changing features. The most enduring of these consumer DTP software packages include the Print Shop, Print Master. Specialty programs primarily designed just for greeting cards, calendars, or other specific print tasks are also frequently changing names, changing hands, and changing focus. Some of the best known of these consumer desktop publishing software titles include Calendar Creator, Greeting Card Factory, American Greetings Creator Card, Hallmark Card Studio. Some useful info about the printers. Although the first laser printers were built by Canon, it was Hewlett-Packard's LaserJet desktop laser printer developed in 1984, combined with the Apple Macintosh computer and Adobe's PostScript page description language and Aldus's PageMaker software that is generally acknowledged as the cornerstone of DTP. The Macintosh, with its easy-to-use graphic user interface, allowed non-computer literate designers to simulate their normal working environment with its desktop as metaphor approach. Many design companies and printers have remained loyal to Apple and standardized on the Macintosh. However, with the release of Windows 95 and its successors, it is now just as possible to use the same software tools on a Windows-based PC as is on Mac. While there used to be much debate as to the advantages of Apple versus Windows for graphic designers, especially around the areas of color accuracy and pre-press, it is now generally accepted that for the most part, the choice of computing platform is now more of a preference than a requirement.
So I would like to recommend the upcoming students who are trying to get into the design industry that they should set their goals and start learning from today. If you are God gifted by the art of typography and designing, you can excel in the field of designing and illustration by learning softwares which are very easy to use and easy to handle. They can run on Mac and Intel both. After becoming a good designer, you can also apply for the posts of book cover designer, poster designer, hoarding designers in various media houses which can work day and night for Bollywood, Hollywood and print media and all that stuff.
So, in this episode of Type Composition, we learned about the Mono, Ludlow and DTP. These type settings have become essential. I hope you have got an idea about the above type composition, that how much they have entered in our routine. And DTP, which is important as a tool that can enhance communication by making it possible to quickly and efficiently produce printed and electronic, online or on-screen documents. So guys, do research on these types compositions. Recap. So, in this episode of Type Composition, we learned about the Mono, Ludlow and DTP. These type settings have become essential. I hope you have got an idea about the above type composition, that how much they have entered in our routine. And DTP, which is important as a tool that can enhance communication by making it possible to quickly and efficiently produce printed and electronic, online or on-screen documents. So do research on these type compositions. Type compositions has a great history and has lots of amazing career opportunities. Good luck and take care.